lost your check your people.
This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. No retribution. And I'm going to tell you once again, if you're not going and checking several times a day, you're missing out. www.paltalknewsnetwork.com. A lot of very interesting comments and reports on the Paltalk News Network site from all around the globe and from many points of view, so that you could be a well-rounded and well-informed chatter on Paltalk and, someone who can impress people off of Paltalk because you'll know what you're talking about. Great story there by our own Cassandra Wood about the possibility of an early election in the United Kingdom. A little backhanded slap at the United States in her final comment there. You have to read between the lines just a little bit. A great analysis about Citigroup paying back its TARP payment and what that means, because it's not all good or all bad. And a number of other great stories on there, including trouble in Copenhagen, the president calling the bankers on the carpet today, and a lot of other great stuff that I suggest that you read if you want to be informed. We're going to talk about charity giving, the first part of the show. We're going to have NASA's chief lunar scientist on during the second half of the show. Before we get to our guest, who is patiently waiting in the wings, I want to call James Hickman from the Little Angels Charities to the microphone. The Little Angels Charities is a consortium of room owners from Paltalk who get together, put aside their competing differences as they compete for numbers in their rooms, to raise money for good causes. And it's you, the Paltalk audience, users, who send in nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars, $100, several $100 at a time to raise money for great causes. James, how much money did you raise, and which organizations benefited from the largesse of our audiences?
Gary, as a matter of fact, weekend, Paltalkers raised just over $5,300. That's $5,300, going to reputable charities such as Toys for Tots, the Salvation Army, Ronald McDonald House, the Covenant House, the Marine Toys for Tots, and St. Jude's Hospital. So our goal was to make $5,000, and we exceeded that, and we're extremely happy with the results. And I want to thank personally you and Boaz for your assistance, and of course my thanks to Paltalk.com.
Well, it's our pleasure, and we are so happy that our own folks on Paltalk, this wasn't something that was run by Paltalk, we just kind of provided the infrastructure for you, got together to do this, and that's a good little bit amount of money to raise, given that we are in hard economic times. People are having a very difficult time deciding whether they even have discretionary income and where to give it. And in the case of the Little Angels Charities, we know ahead of time that every dollar donated goes where it is intended. All of those are great organizations, but some of those groups that are asking for your money and pulling at your heartstrings are running scams. For example, we reported here, and we showed an interview with somebody on the street raising money a couple weeks ago after the Attorney General of New York filed a legal lawsuit against, I guess legal lawsuit is redundant, a civil lawsuit against the United Housing Organization. And for any of you who are at all familiar with New York City, you know you can't go to any place where there are large groups of people without seeing somebody who purports to be homeless wearing a vest and an ID card and with a plastic jug asking for your donations. Well, the Attorney General here is alleging that that money that's collected really doesn't go to help the homeless. They're lining the pockets of the two top executives of that organization, it is alleged. So how do you know whether the money you give to help whoever, you know, the homeless, the local Little League team, the somebody who's raising money to help animals who have been afflicted by cruelty, or even a big international charity that you may have heard about is really helping those who you intend to receive it. Joining us today is Gail Perry, whose website is appropriately gailperry.com. That's GAILPERRY.com. She is a fundraising consultant. She's the author of the book Fired Up Fundraising. And Gail, we asked to come on the show to tell us how we can ensure that our donations at this time of the year, when we are more motivated than any other time to give, are going where they are intended. Gail Perry, welcome to News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network.
Thanks a lot, Gary. Glad to be here.
Well, glad to have you. Now, you heard the organizations that our folks were raising money for: the Salvation Army, Toys for Tots, Ronald McDonald House, Covenant House. I think I'm forgetting another one, but all of those, I think you would agree with me, are reputable organizations. And I'm hoping you're going to tell me that when we're giving money to those organizations, they are going where intended.
I think you can be very sure that the money you give to those what you call reputable charities is going to be very well used, especially right now, too, because the charities and nonprofits are just being bombarded with more and more requests for assistance while the donations are going down. And what I'm seeing is that really good, solid charities are stretching those dollars further than I wish I could stretch my dollars here in my house as good as some of the charities that I'm familiar with are doing.
Right,
but then you've also got the problem, as you referred to the scams. And I imagine they're a big problem up there in New York, right?
Well, certainly with these guys on the street corner. How that scam is working, allegedly, is that these poor folks that you see out on the street are actually homeless people, but they pay, it is alleged, the United Health or the homeless organization money for the right to go out and represent them. So I don't know how much they pay, but they got to dig into their pockets and pay, allegedly, the guy who runs the organization. And then they go out on the street, try to make that money back up, and anything they make over and beyond what they're giving this fella, they get to pocket. And if it's a shortfall, well, then, you know, they've lost money on the deal for that day. And that's a horrible way. I feel sorry for the guy I interviewed and the others out there, because they're actually, if what is alleged is true, being exploited by the folks that are running this. And, you know, clearly, you know, you want to